I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello everyone, welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast, the show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth, no lies told. Today I'm joined by Mr. Tony St. Tone. He is an award-winning singer-songwriter and full-time musician who has performed over 7,000 shows worldwide. He blends pop, rock, and country with positive affirmations and motivational stories. He creates music that uplifts, entertains, and inspires. Through his songs, live performances, and nonprofit work, Tony helps audiences find energy, empowerment, and joy. So let's give a huge welcome to Tony. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, kind of share a little bit more about what you do, and kind of share a little bit backstory about how you became a musician.
Sure. The Reader's Digest version is my sister wanted to take guitar lessons and she didn't want to go alone. She was my older sister. So I ended up going with her. And basically what it was a college course. Um, and there's just one guy with 20 people in there with guitars. Long story short is he would print out sheets of paper that give you chords, simple chords, and then songs that were popular at that time. And I really got fascinated by it by the first two or three classes. Enough, I went back to my dad. I says, I was playing trumpet at the time. I says, hey, Dad, I want to play guitar. And he says, no, if you want to play guitar, you're going to have to buy it because I already bought you the trumpet and you've only played it for 3 months. And so this is me about 14. So I started a paper route and I saved up enough to buy a guitar. Actually, it's right here behind me. I don't know if you point, you're not seeing this. I'm thinking we're on video, but you're not seeing this. It's a guitar I bought for $35 from a friend's brother. And yeah, that just literally launched it for me. And I started writing songs right off the bat. Um, I think the very first show we did 10 songs, and 9 of them were originals, and one was a cover by Billy Joel called Say Goodbye to Hollywood. So yeah, that's how I got started. And man, it's been 40 years. It's been an incredible journey. I've been able to travel around the world, have done some amazing shows, have met some amazing people, and it continues on. I just got back from doing a tour of England, and we're actually gearing up to go back there in April again. So things are just really expanding. I do over 225 shows a year. So that's where I easily got over 7,000 shows under my belt.
Well, I feel like, and even with over 7,000 shows performed, that's very, very impressive for to have that kind of career. Do you remember your first gig of where you first performed?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. My very first gig was March 16th, 1984. It was my first band called The Wave. It was me on guitar and singing, my friend Mike Campano on keyboards and singing, and Danny Massantonio on drums. And we did it at Danny's house in the basement. And that's where we did those original songs and the one cover. And we invited friends to come down. I think there might have been like 10 people there. So, but yeah, we were excited. I actually have a photograph. Uh, I have a bandana on my head, two bandanas on my wrist, another like scarf bandana on my leg, because it was the 80s. So 1984, that glam stuff was just starting. So yeah, we were definitely into it.
So, kind of tell me a little bit about, do you have like a pre-show routine? Is there like some kind of routine that you do before you get on stage to perform?
I don't, because I perform so much that I just get on the stage and start singing. Some people do warm ups and stuff like that. I've never
Mhm.
been that person, but it's interesting. My wife has to warm up. She sings with me, and she always says to me, she goes, "Don't ask me to sing until like we sing three or four songs before she's ready to take a lead." Where I'm comfortable just coming out and just starting to sing. Um, Again, but I've been doing it for so long and I do it so often. So it's like asking a runner, if they want to go jogging, they just start jogging. Some people like to stretch out first and really get ready. And other people just start running and they slowly warm up to a pace. So for me, I just start singing. So there's no real ritual that I do. And the other thing too I want to say is I do a variety of different shows. I play as a solo, I play as a duo, I play as a trio, a full band. I do cover shows, I do original shows, and I do a John Cougar and Tom Petty tribute. So I'm always playing different types of shows. So, um, but it's always the same thing, once I get my equipment set up, I'm ready to go. I think for me, the thing I hate the most is being ready to play and I have to wait. That frustrates the heck out of me because for me, I like to just, when you put that racehorse in the stall, he wants to run. So when I'm ready to play, I want to just play. I don't want to just wait around. Waiting around sort of burns me out for the anticipation of getting started. And unfortunately, when you do a lot of opening acts for larger bands, they need you there early for a sound check. And so, you're there at 5 o'clock, you get a sound check. It's like, all right, you guys go on at 8 o'clock. Like, oh, what are we going to do now for 3 hours? I'm like out of my mind just waiting. So I think that answers your question, a longer version.
Have you, do you prefer doing opening acts or opening for bands, or do you like really being like the main show and main event for when you perform?
I like both. They both bring different aspects to it. When you're the main act, obviously, you have bands that go on before you, and there's that anticipation again for me. I'm just waiting, going, okay, they got like 10 more songs. Okay. All right, another five more songs. Um, I guess because I just like getting ready and playing. But national acts obviously just brings a whole different energy to it. Um, when you're doing a national act, it's the hurry up and wait. But when you hit that stage, you're trying to win over a crowd that's not there to particularly see you, but you are there to warm them up and get them ready to have a great time. So sometimes you have to win them over. Sometimes it's a challenge, sometimes it's not, but it's still that excitement and that rush to like, okay, we're here to do a job. So I like both.
Compared to how it is now, would you say that touring and performing today is just a different kind of atmosphere than compared to when you first started performing?
Yes. The biggest thing that comes to mind, and it's sad, is that there's so many people on their cell phones. People come to see shows and they're just watching their cell phone, and you're like, man, what do I have to set myself on fire to have the phone come down? Or actually, the phone would actually come back up again because they want to videotape it. So, it doesn't ever leave their hands.
Yeah.
Either they're videotaping or they're scrolling. Um, and I'm not saying everybody, obviously. It's just certain things that I notice as a performer. Um, doing shows in England was really awesome. And one of the things that I loved about England and Ireland actually is that the music is still the main focus when you're performing at different clubs. There's not, 2,500 TVs around you playing every sports game that's out there. A lot of bars in America want to be. the catch-all of everything. We want to be a sports bar. We want to have live music. We want to have food. We want to have drinks. They want to try to appeal to everyone. And what happens is it's like a competition for attention. So, a person's performing and then the TV's playing a football game and another one's playing a basketball game and then the waitress is trying to get their order and you're like, no wonder people are just have ADHD because they just can't, they can't tie into anything. It's just like boom, 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 constant. So in England, what we found is that, hey, when you're playing, those people are there to hear music and they're there to just enjoy it. So I get those here too, but they're called listening rooms. They're more concerts. They're not just playing at a restaurant or a bar. It's actually a theater show or a listening room show where it's like you are the entertainment and, you know, you have everyone's attention. Um, which for me makes it a lot easier for me to start talking about songs and how certain songs inspired me or what the message is about the song. Where when I'm doing a show at a bar or restaurant, I don't tend to talk as much because you're trying to gather people's attention and they're there to socialize more. So unless they're dancing, they're just there, socializing. So, and again, it varies on the time of the day. If you're doing a happy hour show, then people just seem to be there just to get a couple of drinks. But if you're doing a nighttime show, then people are there to dance. It's like, okay, well, then we need to keep the energy up and I'm not going to talk. I'm going to be like a DJ and just keep that music going so that dance floor never stops. That's what I mean by a variety of different shows. I'll do an acoustic solo show or I'll do a high energy dance show or I'll do an original show.
Do you have shows and instances where when you're performing that the crowd is just really, it's kind of a dull crowd? How do you kind of perform when the crowd is not really feeling the music or they just are not really vibing to it as much?
You know, you still do the best you can. Like I still perform as if there was 1,000 people out there. And I've had people comment to me going, "Holy crap, man, you still put in so much energy and you guys look like you're having so much fun just being in the moment." And that stuff is contagious. And if you are trying to rely on the crowd to pick you up, you're in the wrong field. It's like your job is to pick them up. So again, you're trying to win them over. So I've been in many situations where the crowd just seems to be in their own little zone or in their own little world. And all of a sudden you hit this one song and boom, it just starts snapping heads around and people start getting up. And all of a sudden now you got this thing going. Um, what's really great is when you can get the audience in such a trance, and I mean a trance that they're just vibing to the music and they're going. And I'll say, put your hands up, put your hands up. And all of a sudden everyone's hands go up. And I go, all right, now somebody scream. And everyone just screams. And that's when you know you've got that whole place just pumping, right? And you are the coordinator of it. So they're in this hyped up trance and just enjoying it. And now I'm just guiding them through it. So those are incredible moments.
Have you preferred performing overseas, or what's it like to perform in different countries? Are they massively different when it comes to crowd energy?
It's more like I just said, as far as people are there more to listen to the music because there's not a bunch of TVs for entertainment. They're there for the music. England has been very, very well received as far as my original stuff, especially. So, yeah, I've done shows and I mean, I've traveled around the world doing shows. I did USO tours for entertaining US troops around the world. So I've been to probably 25 or 30 different countries doing that alone. And I mean like Italy, Greece, Spain, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Japan, Korea, Okinawa, um, God, Guam. I've just been, and some really crazy places that people wouldn't even know unless you're in the military. But those are more for the US based military guys. We did some local shows, but as of late, I've been doing shows in Italy, Ireland, and England for the past couple of years now. So that's just been really awesome. And I'm starting to get into different areas because once you're in Europe, you can easily go to Germany or Belgium or Amsterdam because it's all just a train ride around. So yeah, the crowds there. are definitely different. I feel like they're more appreciative. And it might be because when you're an American act, you're more of a novelty there. Like in Italy, I did a festival last year, and I sang all American songs at the festival, and people were loving it, and they were singing every word with me, which I thought was really crazy. When you're doing, Bob Dylan's "Knocking on Heaven's Door," everyone knows it. They don't know what the words mean, but they know how to sing it. So um, being able to perform in English without the accent makes you special in non-speaking English countries. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. The It's funny that you had brought up performing in the military. Is it true that you performed at a prison one time?
Oh, yeah, I do it several times. I do that quite often, actually. So I have a nonprofit called Spirit of Music Foundation. And with the nonprofit, what it does is we collect funds to help musicians go to places that need a life lift but can't afford it. So if it's nursing homes, halfway houses, jails, boys and girls club, um, and out of the 7,000 shows that I've done, one of those shows that I rank in my top three was at the LA County Jail for the women. Um, there was 300 women there, and we were getting ready to play. This was a full band, and they just started screaming like we were the Beatles at Shea Stadium. And the energy that we felt was just amazing. They were just so ready to hear stuff. And my original stuff that I play in the jails is all has a positive message with it, so it's self-empowering. And what I do is I do motivational speaking along with it. So I'll talk about a song, let's say breaking all the rules that were meant to be broken. And I'll talk about characters who have challenged society or beliefs of society, saying like, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. Um, and I'll go from motivational speaking for about 10 minutes, and then I'll go into the song. So yeah, the jails are they're just amazing because the people that we're playing for are trying to get a second chance. And I can get in there with my music and my motivational speaking and just really plant some seeds. And I know the seeds get planted because I've returned to some of these different places 6 months later. I just had a guy come up to me and goes, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're here." I said, "Why?" And he goes, "I was just telling a guy the other day about you and the story you had told about these rats." And I'll tell you the story about the rats, but it stuck with them. So here's the rat story. There were these two scientists back in the 1950s, and they wanted to see how long a rat can swim. So they took a bunch of rats and put them in the water, and sure enough, within 15 minutes, all of them started drowning. So they pulled them all out of the water and dried them off. And one guy says, "Let's just try to throw them back in again and see how long they last this time." Well, they threw them back in again, and to their surprise, they swam for 60 hours. So they went from 15 minutes to 60 hours. And what they realized with their study was is that the rat was just swimming long enough to get plucked out. So the rat thought its potential was 15 minutes when it really was 60 hours. So I say, what is your potential? Where do you think you are? What do you think you can do compared to what you actually really can do? So these are things that I talk about. This is a story that I had said, and this guy was reiterating my story to someone else 6 months later. And then I showed up and he goes, "I can't believe you're here. I was just telling that rat story and I was telling this guy about you." I go, "Well, yeah, I'm here." So the things that I'm doing are having an effect, which is really great.
What are some wild stories that you can share about times when stuff just really has been bananas to the point where it's really hard for people to believe, like, wait, that actually happened?
God, okay. Um, I met Billy Joel in a men's room, hung out with him, talked to him. And people were like, "How the hell did you meet Billy Joel in a men's room?" So I was at the songwriters induction ceremony, which is like the Hall of Fame for songwriters, and everyone who is anybody was there that night. And it was a dinner, so we had paid $400 a seat, but we're in this big room, And we're seated in the back where people that were in the front, where the podium was, had paid $25,000 a seat. It's that kind of like, it's like the Grammys. So I was part of the organization, so I had access to get the seats, and I paid $400 a seat. But I knew that I wanted to go. I was going one way or another. So my wife and I went with some friends, and there was God, who did I meet that night? I met Garth Brooks, Neil Diamond, Brian Wilson was there, Paul McCartney was there. All these people were there. It was just like an amazing, and they're all in the same room with you. So the way they did it was they did the awards first and then the dinner afterwards. So, oh, James Brown was there. So while they were doing the awards or getting ready for the awards, I went to go use the men's room, and I'm standing at the urinal, and right next to me is Billy Joel. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Billy Joel. Now I'm a big Billy Joel fan, huge. So I'm thinking to myself, what do I say to Billy Joel where I don't sound like an idiot? So I said, hey, I got a funny story for you. And he goes, oh, yeah, what's that? I says, the guy that tunes your piano tunes my piano. And he goes, oh, no shit. The guy from Connecticut? I go, yeah, the guy from Connecticut. Now, you got to keep in mind, this guy that was tuning my piano kept saying that he tunes Billy Joel's piano. And I didn't know if he was full of crap or if he was for real. So I just threw that line out. But sure enough, he goes, the guy from Connecticut. And I was like, yeah, that's the guy. So I says, hey, I'm a really big fan of yours. And he goes, yeah, thanks. He goes, I'm not doing that music anymore right now. I'm working on a classical album. I says, oh, that's cool. Now, again, you got to keep in mind we're both at the urinal. So it's just this real quick conversation. So he leaves. I go back to the table and I tell my friends, I go, you guys aren't going to believe this. I just met Billy Joel in the bathroom. So a friend of mine goes, well, I'm going to go to the men's room, see who I can meet. He goes there and he comes back and he goes, you met Billy Joel? Well, I met the three brothers from Hanson. I went, oh man, bop. I says, I think I won that contest. So yeah, that was just like a crazy thing. Another story that was hard for me to believe that actually happened was I had the opportunity to play for Priscilla Presley and Lisa Marie and Elvis's two granddaughters at Priscilla Presley's mansion in Beverly Hills. And again, I'm a big Elvis fan. And when I went there and I met Priscilla, it was like surreal. I'm like, holy crap, this is her place. This is where she lives. This is Priscilla Presley, and that's Lisa Marie, and those are his granddaughters. And they told us when we went to play, they said, hey, don't mingle with the guests. This is a private party. And I lived in LA for 6 years. So the one thing that the people in LA want is their privacy. So they don't want you interacting with them too much unless they come up to you. So I said, okay. So it was a trio. And when we took a break, we went and stood by the food table, I think it was. And a guy comes up to me and he goes, hey, where did my sister find you guys? I said, your sister? He goes, yeah, Priscilla's my sister. I'm her brother. I says, oh, this is more like a family thing because there's only like 30 people there. And he goes, yeah, there's my mom, there's my dad, and there's my other brother. So these are Priscilla's, close family that we were playing for. But it was just an amazing experience to actually have done that. So those are just a couple of stories. I mean, 40 years, I do have a book that I'm putting together along with a documentary of places that I've played. So you might have to wait for that to come out so I get all of them all in one spot.
What's been the most rewarding thing that's happened to you since starting at your life as a musician?
I think it's having the ability to play music full time. I've always wanted to be a full time musician, and despite a lot of not pushback but lack of support, I want to say, I've been able to achieve that and make a living at it, make a good living at it. Um, where I'm not a starving musician. There's so many people that I grew up with that wanted to play music but never stuck with it, and I stuck with it. And so I'm 57 years old. I've got friends of mine that stopped playing when they're in their 20s. Some stopped in their 30s. Some stopped in their 40s. Some people couldn't hang and they could only do it part time or on the weekend. I've been blessed that I've been able to do it full time. Um, and it's because I've made a lot of sacrifices to get to that point. I used to live in Connecticut, and I knew in Connecticut I could only play 3 times a week. Where in Florida, where I am now, you could play 7 days a week, twice a day, and make a living. The cost of living was cheaper down here, and you can play music full time. And I remember everyone kept telling me, "Why do you want to go to Florida? You don't want to do that. It's hot down there. There's old people in Florida," as if it wasn't hot in Connecticut and there weren't old people in Connecticut. But what people were doing is they were projecting their own insecurities on me, because if I had the courage to do it, that meant that they would have to have the courage to do it, and they didn't. So it's almost like them trying to convince me, like, "Oh, you don't want to go. You don't want to go. Stay here." I'm like, "Yeah, I should just stay here with you, and then we both won't play." And instead I was like, "No, I'm leaving. I'm getting out." And they're like, "You don't know anyone there." I go, "I don't care. I'm playing full time." And here's what's really interesting about that is I've always listened to different motivational tapes, and Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy. Um, a lot of times people fear things, and they fear the unknown. It's like it's crappy here, but it could be crappier out there. So I'd rather stay here than take a chance. And I go, "My God, that's like a conditioning kind of a thing." So it's like, what if you just went out there and went, "Oh my God, the grass really is greener on this side. Hey, life is really is better this time on this side." You don't know. So it's like it's a 50-50 shot, but it's worth taking a shot. I said to everyone, from what I understand, I can move to Florida, and if I don't like it, they'll let me move back. It's not like I'm moving to a different country and the borders are closed,
Right.
So it's being able to play full time and to be able to do the shows that I do through the Spirit of Music Foundation, where, when we're doing shows at the halfway house or at the jails or even at some of the nursing homes, man, they're awesome. And when I can have someone come up to me and say, "Hey, man, I love that song, Empower Me. It got me through my divorce." I'm like, wow. So I've been fortunate enough that my original stuff has been able to move people, and people have been reacting to it and saying, "Hey, I want to thank you for the music." And then, doing shows like the USO tours. My God, there was a show I did, and we were in Kuwait, and we were in a place called Tent City, 600 troops in the middle of a desert, and they're all laying in tents. Alcohol is illegal, so no one could drink. And the band got up and played. We were on a flatbed, and there's 600 troops there, and they just lost their mind. You would have thought Van Halen showed up, but they were so into it that they started stage diving. And sure enough, the band ended up stage diving, and I actually got a picture of me jumping into the crowd someone took. But I met a girl that night, and she came up to me after the show, and she goes, "I really want to thank you for coming tonight." And I says, "Oh, well, thanks for having us." And I thought nothing of it, like, thank you. But she goes, "I want to share something with you." I said, "Okay." She goes, "Tonight's my 1 year anniversary. I got a fake bottle of champagne. I'm in my tent." And my friend kept coming, "Let's go out. There's a band here." And I was so depressed and I didn't want to. And she kept saying, "Come on, come on, come on. You got to come out." And she goes, "So I came out. You guys were amazing. I actually ended up stage diving for the first time. And wow, just thank you so much." I says, "Oh, I'm really glad you had a good time." And at the time, we were touring with posters. So I signed a poster for her. Fast forward 20 years, I'm doing a show in Sarasota, Florida here. This girl comes up to me. She goes, "Hi." I go, "Hi." She goes, "I can't believe it." I go, "What's up?" She goes, "I had to see it for myself." She goes, "You don't remember me?" I go, "No. You want to tell me a little bit more?" She goes, "I met you in Kuwait in Tent City. You played, and it was my 1 year anniversary." And she still had the poster that I signed. And she sent me a picture on Facebook of it, because I drew a little picture of a person jumping off of a stage, and then I signed my name. I said something like "Keep on flying." So you have no idea what type of impact you are having on people when you go and perform. Things like that, like the guy that remembered the story 6 months later, and this girl who held on to a poster that I signed 20 years later. So um, yeah, I think everything that I just mentioned are reasons why I love what I do.
Are there any places that you haven't had a chance to perform at that you would love to perform at still to this day?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of different places. This is going to sound really crazy, but this morning my wife and I were talking about doing a show in Uganda, in Africa, for a fundraiser. She started working with this woman, and this woman says, "Yeah, we're doing a fundraiser in December, like this year in December." And there's talks about us going there and performing. And I'm like, wow, I'd do that. I mean, music has allowed me to travel around the world and entertain people and just, do what I love to do. So again, you think it's crazy. You're like, you want to go to Africa and do a show? And I'm like, yeah, man, I would love to go to Africa and do a show. Just like I thought was really interesting when we did our show in the Middle East. It was a tour, meaning that we were going to do Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Turkey, Bahrain, like all these places in the Middle East. And my
Mm.
bass player refused to go. He's like, I'm not going there. And I says, what do you mean you're not coming? No, man, I don't want to go there. And I'm like, why would you not want to go? And he goes, I don't want to play for those people. I'm like, who are those people? Well, for him, those people were Arabic. And at the time, Arabics were not shown well on TV. There was no internet back then. So whatever the media wanted to show you, they would show you. So any place like the Middle East looked like a war-torn desert, because there were Desert Storm war was happening and a lot of other stuff was happening. So it just seemed like this crazy place in the middle of the desert where bombs are dropping everywhere. Well, nothing could be further than the truth because when you go to places like Saudi Arabia, oh my God, the money that these people have and the malls, I mean, it was unbelievable. Same thing with Kuwait and stuff. So, you know, there's so many places that I would want to play. So it's just Africa's just like another place. Like, man, I looked it up. I'm like, I wouldn't mind playing there. They all speak English. They would understand my songs. And what's really interesting, what I just found out this morning, is that I think 30% of the population are under 15. And then like another 27% are under the age of 29. So there's 50 million people in just Uganda, which is this little place like the size of probably smaller than Texas. Like you got 50 million people there. Well, the problem that they're having there is there's one doctor for every 37,000 people. And they're trying to raise funds to help bring more doctors there. So when I could bring my music and help raise funds for causes like that, yeah, that's the kind of show that I'd love to do.
If you wasn't a musician, where do you think you would be at this point in your lifetime?
I'd be hoping I was a musician. I'd, I'd still be doing some type of music. I'm a creative person. Um, I've got a bachelor's degree in graphic design. So I do graphic design work and I do video editing, but they're all things that I do for myself. I've done it for other people, but it's more for me, like my own promotion is 90% of what I do. Um, so I'd probably still be doing something creative, but music is it's just like I wake up with songs in my head that I literally have to get out of bed and sing it into my phone or grab a guitar. And it's very normal for me to do that to a point where my wife already knows. She looks at me, she goes, like, yep, don't talk to me. Just don't talk to me. And I'll be up typing lyrics, 3 o'clock in the morning into my phone because I'm singing this song over and over in my head. And these words are happening. And I'm like, I got to get the sound. So a lot of these things just happen to be downloaded for me.
What advice do you have for maybe there's up and coming musicians that are listening to this that are having a difficult time trying to make it into the music industry? What advice do you have for them on what they can do to really sell themselves and be able to really make a successful career out of it?
It's a really good answer question. The landscape has changed so much from when I started. When I started, it was like you needed a record company to really get behind you to get you out there. Nowadays, with social media, um, almost anyone can be a star. Unfortunately, the thing that happens is uh, there's a saying, God made more mud than dirt, more mud than gold, right? So you have to shift through a lot of stuff before you can find the gold nuggets. Before, record companies were the ones who would do that. They would shift through a lot of different bands and sign only certain bands. Nowadays, it's like everyone throws their stuff against the wall, and some stick, some don't. Um, Plus, people's attention span has gotten so much shorter. But as an up and coming artist, I would say just continue to create and put stuff out. Create and put stuff out. You got to be willing to step up to the bat and strike out to hit a home run. So you have to be willing to literally go up and try to find a song that resonates with people, but be true to yourself as well. One of the things for me is I've recorded 18 CDs and I love to write in different styles. I like to write pop, rock, country. Some stuff have an R&B feel. There's some raps in some of my songs. But as a record company come along and say, "Hey, you can't do that because it's harder to market you when you do that. We need you to just be strictly one thing. I want to be able to identify you on uh, the head of a pin, you know?" And I understand that from a marketing sense. But if you took a band like the Beatles, oh my God, put on the White Album from the Beatles, and you have Helter Skelter to Blackbird, which is like an acoustic song. So they're just all over the place with different genres. That's what I love about them, and that's one of the things that I like to do, especially when I perform in these places like the jails and stuff. I'll do a reggae song, a rock song, a pop song, and now I'm appealing to a wider audience because there's a little something for everyone in there. There's something that's relatable to them. So when you're coming up as a first time musician, just explore everything. Don't pigeonhole yourself. Just explore, because you might find that you write better country songs than you do metal songs. Like, oh, my songs sound like a metal. It'll sound like country songs. Well, then maybe you should be leaning more towards country than metal. And I want to say this also: what you listen to and what you write can be different. You could love listening to metal and write country songs, and it's okay, and vice versa. It's like, it's not like you can't do that. You like Metallica, you can't like Garth Brooks. Like, I like them both. So yeah, just be true to yourself and just continually just experiment.
Well, Tony, I appreciate you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I think it's a really impactful story, and thank you for the advice because I can only imagine what musicians have to go through nowadays to get started. There's so much to do now, so I appreciate you so much for sharing this story and the great advice with my listeners. I know that they'll be really beneficial. If people would like to check out your music and if they would like to follow you on social media, maybe if they would like to get in contact with you, where are you most available at and where can they best find you?
I would say go to my website, which is www.sainttone.com. That's SAINTTONE.com. So it's two T's. That has everything on it. Has, like, all my socials you can get to, my YouTube channel you can get to, all my different social medias are right there. That's the best thing. And if you're there, sign up for my email list. I put out one email a month, let you know what I'm doing, where I'm traveling to, and what I'm doing.
I'll put his website, his social media links, and I'll put some additional links down there as well for you all to check him out and feel free to support him. And if you have questions, then feel free to reach out to him. He'll be more than happy to answer them. Feel free to follow me on Instagram and on TikTok at Lethal Venom Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Noah's Podcast. And as always, listen to Lethal Venom. I can't talk all of a sudden. Listen to Lethal Venom wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm available on all the major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora. It's everywhere, so feel free to subscribe so you'll get notified when new episodes come out. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to today's episode. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Lethal Venom.